Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
Hey friends, and welcome back to another episode of Genuine Business Stories, where we have real front porch chats that inspire success. I'm your host, Clint Strom, and today we are sitting down with a business leader who is shaking up things in the automotive and fleet industry with innovation and persistence. Our guest is Devin Spruill, the owner of Devin Spruill Enterprises and a global ambassador for Ferox Fuel Catalyst. Devin's company uses hydrogen technology to clean engines, reduce emissions, and extend engine life, transforming vehicles in a way many thought not possible. But in this episode, it isn't just about tech. It's about grit, resilience, and building a business that serves customers while changing the future of the industry. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's dive into the journey with Devin Spruill. Morning, Devin. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Good. So I want to dig in.
Got to tip my hat to you. I should have worn one. It's gorgeous. I love it.
Well, thanks. You know, you said a couple of things we're going to dig into before we get into
Yes, sir.
what we had talked about. Let's talk about your healthcare days.
Yes, sir. 15 years I spent in the healthcare realm, if you will, from 99 to 2014. And I learned a lot, obviously. And as we spoke earlier, off camera, off record, if you will, I learned that if you don't preventatively take care of yourself now, that you might have some issues arise in the future. It's kind of a roll of the dice, but at the end of the day, fitness and health, man, we take them for granted. And when we don't have them, we're in dire straits. So, I enjoyed my time in healthcare. It became a way for me to network and get to know people and figure out people's needs immediately, whether it be the actual customer or the patient who I was helping take care of.
So what did you do in healthcare?
So originally, when I first started, I wanted to get my feet into sales. And so a couple of years before that, I started as what's called a durable medical technician, a DME, durable medical equipment technician. I would go into, let's just say your mother needed a hospital bed and the hospital ordered that for you through case management. They would then in turn reach out to our company, and I would go into your residence and set up any equipment that your mother may need to get along and rehab herself. Maybe say she had a knee replacement or hip replacement. She's going to need a bed that can lower and raise to her needs, or she's going to need a wheelchair for, X amount of months. Maybe she had a respiratory issue. She needs oxygen, home oxygen. I did it all. I would go in and set up all that equipment for the family and the patient. And upon them no longer needing it, I would go in and recover that equipment. And hopefully, they rehab back to themselves again. They didn't need it for the rest of the time that they were around. So unfortunately, there were the cases where, you picked up the equipment and patient had passed or whatever the case is. But it really shone a light, if you will, once again, on the just the enormity of what goes along with sickness or any of that. And there are a lot of different balls being juggled at the same time, be it from the family's standpoint or the healthcare provider standpoint, or even our standpoint as a company to make sure that the patient's taken care of at all times.
I've realized here lately, aging is not for the faint of heart.
It quite frankly sucks. I saw a license plate holder years ago. I mean, I'm talking 20 years ago when I was driving through Kingwood one time, and I still remember it. And it was a Cadillac, an older Cadillac, and it was an older gentleman drive it. And when he passed by me, the license plate holder said, "The golden years suck." And I thought to myself, well, that's one way of putting it for sure. So he's not on the golf course. He's pretty aggravated. Tough.
Yeah, when I play golf, I take 3 a lead before I start. When I started noticing some of the aging was when I would approach something to pick it up, where when I was younger, I just go snatch it and take it.
Right.
And now I find I will walk up to something, look at it and go, I know I have the strength to pick it up. Oh, my goodness, this is going to hurt.
Yeah. Or is that wise, right? You go to reach for a towel out of the dryer and you throw your back out. And you're like, how could that be? Well, as you said, as we age, if we're not focusing on stretching and everything else, which we don't, we just quite frankly don't. We're wired to get up, get ready, get out the door, and hope everything stays together with some bubble gum and rubber bands throughout the day.
Duct tape, too.
Duct tape.
If it works for NASCAR going around at 180 miles per hour, it ought to work for the human body.
The MacGyver mindset, right?
So how do we take the transition from healthcare to automotive?
Quite simply, burnout. Healthcare had driven me to the point of, man, I got to find something else. And I kind of had that mindset around 2012. As I'd mentioned before off camera, I'm a singer in bands. And so my guitar player at the time had been running a territory for a chemical company and kept telling me, hey, Devin, when there's an opportunity arise, I want you to take this position. You'd be great. It'd work excellent for you. Okay. Well, we talked about it off and on for, a handful of years. Well, sure enough, I'm cutting the grass. I believe it was about May of 2014 after work during the week at my home in the Woodlands. And my phone keeps vibrating. I'm listening to music in my headphones, but I can feel my phone keep vibrating. I'm thinking, man, I'm hoping this isn't something one of my parents, so I reach down, lawnmower's running, and I look, and it's my old guitar player. Well, I just keep hitting, deny or whatever. He's calling. He won't stop. So finally I stopped the lawnmower, and I call, I answered the phone, say, what do you need? And he said, I need your resume, and I need it now. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, why? What's up? He said, well, one of the guys in the Northwest Territory, that territory's been given up, and I want you in that position. So stop, drop, and roll. Here I am, sweaty and hot, lawnmower and everything. So I'm scrolling on my phone in my yard. My neighbors probably think I'm bananas at this point. And I fired off to him. Well, the very next morning, I got a phone call from the regional guy of the company that was running the distributorship, said he wanted to meet. And so we got together, and it's kind of, it just happened. I interviewed with them, and I was probably guaranteed that it would do at least this amount. And because you got to look at things from a perspective. So I'll give you, for instance, I'm mid-40s at the time when that happens. And in life, sometimes we take 2 steps back when we're hoping to take 2 steps forward, right? And I'm thinking to myself, I can't keep doing this 2 steps back stuff. It's got to be 2 steps forward, because now I have a young family again. I'm starting over. I have a daughter, a 1-year-old. How do I make this happen? My wife's pregnant again. We're going to be having another baby. And so how do I make this make sense? And so getting a somewhat guarantee of it's going to match my current situation and has the potential to blow way past that. I'm in. Give me the opportunity. Give me the ability, the chance. I want it. Let's go.
So is your business a franchise or distributorship?
My current business?
Yes.
It's a unique model in the regards that I am a distributor of all 48 states of the machine that we'll speak of here in a minute for a company out of the UK. So I can sell those machines, I can lease those machines, I can profit share with those machines. I can sit them in my garage and do nothing with them.
So the machines that I just brought up is different than the position you were talking about.
Yes, sir. Yeah. But it does gravitate in towards that. Gotcha. So I wound up taking this position, as a wholesale distributor for this company underneath another distributorship out of Oklahoma, and selling products to direct to dealerships, automotive dealerships, oil additives and fuel additives and whatnot. So I started that with in 2014. I think it was July 2014. I had to become my own LLC to run that. So, matter of fact, came right down there to the courthouse and got my documentation and started that journey. And it worked extremely well. Did that for the better part of 5 years. And along that time, had grown the territory almost 4 times of what it was when I had inherited it. So very pleased with that and did real well with that, but kept wanting my own thing, if you will. I always knew in my mind that I wanted to be as much of my own boss or entity as I could. And there's always constraints when you're underneath people and what you can do or where you can go. And I don't necessarily like having territories if I feel locked down. I'll give you a piece of a sentiment from my healthcare days. I worked for a gentleman, I'm not sure if he's still around anymore. His name was Jack Cliff. He was a very interesting man. Worked for him, and he told me one day in a meeting, we had Monday morning meetings from 8 to 8:30, and I was out the door after that. He wanted to know what I did the week before, what I was going to do this week, and that was it. It was he and I that had the meetings. And he didn't believe in territories either. He said, Devin, he said, if I go into the same doctor's office 6 times in a row, and they don't give me the business, but then you go in with me, or you go in instead of me, and you walk out with an order the first time. He said, what did that territory do for us?
I completely agree. There's too often, because you make your living as a salesperson, and I spent years in sales before I have my own business, that people get territorial.
Right.
Businesses will put non-competes in, and as a business owner, I understand that. But as I used to respectfully tell the company, they're not buying from you.
That's it.
They are buying from me and the relationship I've built. They just want your product.
That's it.
But it is so much on those relationships of being able to go in, and we don't all click with everybody. It doesn't mean we dislike them, but
that's right.
A lot of times we buy from people. There's something that you just click.
And as my brother had told me, he was my first true sales mentor, and I hold him in high regard. He told me, he said, Devin, he said, there should be chiseled in stone somewhere, you buy from who you like. And exactly what you're saying, it's all relationship purchasing. I mean, if you're offering the same widget that I am, but they like your hat better than they like my shirt, or they like your approach better, or whatever else, or your patience compared to mine, they're going to buy from Clint. They're not going to buy from me. And the best man won the job. Best person won the job in that regard. So
I also think if you end up and you find a way to have passion about what you're doing,
right?
Passion fuels persistence, and persistence builds success.
Right. Well, let me tout on you for a second. When you and I first spoke on the phone, I was in need, and I was ready to switch. I had had enough because I didn't have enough interaction with what I needed. And you told me straight up front, this is what I do, this is what I expect, this is what I will do, this is what I'll continue to do. And since jump, that's how it's been with you. So it's worked out really well. And
we are coming up on our first quarterly conversation.
Oh, nice. Okay, sweet. We can do it here. No. Yeah, so it worked out really well. And that's how I see business to work. You become a partner. It's not a customer. It's a partner. And rolling into what I do now, I look at everyone as a partner. I talk to my partners on the weekly or on the bi-weekly. So
yeah, and you've since then, we've used your service. I've used it twice. We'll get into it a little bit more once you explain it. But I have seen benefits.
Nice.
And I've seen benefits that throughout the year will help offset the cost because of what it did for me for fuel performance.
Right.
Yes, sir. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Yes, sir.
You know, your product is pretty amazing.
Thank you.
So going to build your business, kind of take me through those steps. You go through, you'll form your LLC, but when you're ready to hit the ground, how did you come across the product now that you have, the machine? And then when we get to that, then how'd you even figure out you could market this?
Right.
It's amazing, but it's something, when you were telling me about it, I'm going, it sounds like something that come out of a movie, like Back to the Future with a DeLorean and a flux capacitor.
That's it. Wear the crazy hair and go in and say, I got something. It's very niche, to say the least. I actually found this technology from one of my customers when I was selling additives. I walked in. I remember it was a cold, rainy day, misty day of February of 2019. One of my very best customers, who's become a very good friend of mine over the years, had said, I sat down. I was headed to another meeting, but I wanted to visit with him for a second. He said, "Hey, man, come here. I got something to show you." So he walked me out of his office, walked me to the back of the used car department and said, "You see that right there?" And I said, "Yeah, what is that? Looked like a toolbox or something." I said, "What is that?" And he said, "That does something that your products do." He said, "Except we don't have to buy anything." And I said, "Oh." I said, "What is that?" And he started explaining to me what it does. And one of the technicians come over, "Hey, Devin, let me show you." I said, "Well, hey, can you do that service on my truck if I come back tomorrow?" "Yeah, we'll do it on your truck for free, gratis." I've done so much for them over the years. I figured, why not ask for one, right? So I come back the next day, and it's still cold outside, not really raining as much. And they do the service on my truck. They show me what it does, how it works, and everything else. And I thought to myself, man, I might get taken out here if I don't get on this. So there was a card on the machine. I called the number on the card, and he was just the local technician. He said, "I can put you in the hands of who you need to speak with." Because I'd asked him straight up. I said, "Do you have a Houston distributor? Do you have anybody in Texas?" And they said, "No, we don't currently." I said, "Okay, great." So I wound up having about a 45-minute, 50-minute conversation with one of the CEOs of the company, or the CEO of the company, and we saddled up together. I said, "Man, I'm in." I said, "What I need to do?" Because one thing I will tell you is that I've noticed over the years, I don't know if it's intuition or if it's just paying attention or, all this coming towards you at once, you realize that the world's going to work differently when it wants to. And it moves a lot, and it works in different ways than you expect it to. We can't continue to think that it's going to continue to do the same thing over and over. And I needed to be ahead of things. I went home and spoke to my wife about it. I told her what was up. She said, "Well, if you think it's worthy, then look into it." So
no concerns of 2 steps forward before you.
Once again, there we go again, right? Exactly. Always that concern, always that lingering mindset, but it doesn't make decisions for me. One thing I can say, it's the only way I've been able to ever see life, right, is that obstacle. How do we get over that? How do we get through it? How do we make it make sense? And I like a challenge, because at the end of the day, what are we doing if we're just here muddling around in the same stream all the time?
I don't know if you caught what I said. I try to look at life positively. 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Yeah, right.
Instead of 1 step forward and 2 steps back.
100%, right? Make some ground.
Exactly.
And with that being said, I'm glad you said that, Clint, because the way I see it too is also, as I was saying, I know that there has to be a challenge, and if I can be at the tip of the spear of that challenge, then maybe I can create something enormous. Or maybe I can be at the frontier of it all. And it's like anything else. If you're going into a new waterway to explore or anything else, you feel like you've accomplished something. And as men, I can't speak for a woman. I'm not one. But as a man, it's all about hunting and gathering and seeing what we've done, but not resting our laurels, getting enough, but understanding that we need to push on more. And so that's how I saw it. I saw it as a challenge, and it was. I'm not going to lie. It was a challenge.
Well, being in the automotive industry, Henry Ford had said, "Failure is simply the opportunity to begin again." And this time you can do it a little bit more intelligently.
There you go.
I find that approach in life helps. We don't want to, I'm not a person that just takes Las Vegas risk. I take calculated risk.
Surely.
Things are a risk, but I'm not going to let life paralyze me going, what if I fail? Well, to me, failure is when you quit.
That's it.
Otherwise, you just might have to change direction. And I can assure you, I'm in the process of my business changing direction and how I market my company so that I can grow the company faster.
Mm-hmm.
And, putting myself in the position, a lot of times as salespeople, if we go back to our business-to-business sales, when you're first starting out, this is what your boss tells you. Make the calls, quote more.
Right.
Do this, do this. And what I've learned is that doesn't always work. You have to figure out for your own personality what makes you most successful selling your product or promoting your business. And instead of going the old way of just go out and continue to call. Well, if you're not good on the phones, then you probably better mix that up with some of your phone calls to some business-to-business, face-to-face. I'm somebody that I hate to call you, meaning as far as cold calls.
Right.
But I have no problem walking into your business and saying, hey, how are you doing?
It's kind of what you're saying is, to use the automotive pun, you have the hood raised and you got the wrong wrench.
Yeah.
And you just stay there for 2 hours just trying to figure it out, but you can't get it done, right? At the end of the day, you look at the title of your podcast here, Genuine Business. That is key to me. If you're genuine and you have a product, whether somebody believes they need it or not, once you're able to open the door to explore why because people do not think about why they need something until they need it, until it's too late, right? And so understanding and explaining this to them, it's kind of like what you did when you walked me through the entirety of this is what your business policy is going to look like, and this is why you need this, that, and the other. I hadn't a clue of any of that. And I'd had the same agent for 6 years.
Well, and it's the same way as when we discussed your product. It wasn't here, just do it. It's like, Devin, tell me how this works.
Right.
I'm
spending my money.
Exactly. And we'll get into that part of. So at this point, you've secured the deal to distribute the product. You've now got your business. So now how did you go about marketing yourself? I'm sure that your previous relationships were helpful, but that, I'm guessing, was a lot on the dealership side. And like with me, you do the dealership, you do fleet, but you also do personal individuals. So how did you start out to market your company to start seeing success?
Very good question. So I went directly after the biggest elephant in the room and started trying to chew it a little at a time, meaning the fleet mechanism. I currently, my customers, and I've built these over the years, but I've done work for Union Pacific Railroad. I've done work for the city of Houston, for Conroe ISD. I've done work for the third largest waste company. I continue to partner with them and do work for them. So I thought to myself at the time, I said, I need to find more of the cattle in the pen instead of trying to go out and pull in one sheep at a time. Because at this point, whenever I made the decision to leave my former role as a wholesale distributor, I'm on my own. I am the man. I'm the buck stops here. The business comes in, it's up to me. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So the way I marketed that was demos. I drove from Montgomery to Corpus, from Montgomery to El Paso, to all over the first 6 months before I landed my first quote unquote large customer, if you will, large partner. And it took a lot to get people to acknowledge exactly like you said, it's niche, right? For them to understand that and how that can impact their mechanism, their operations. I had to prove it. I had to show them through the service and explain to them what it was and let them pull their own data before and after. And the proving grounds really was the fleet, because it did such a good, the industrial side, because if you find a good company that invests in maintenance, you go show them what this can do for them. They already have the ability to capture all the data that they need before, and after you do the service, they can capture the data afterwards, and they see results like they'd never seen before.
When you first started going to your contacts and working with fleet, tell me the first reaction you got when you said hydrogen technology. Was it, Devin, what are you talking about? Are you crazy?
Yeah, basically. What kind of snake oil is this? And before, in the other life that I lived, it was always snake oil. You know, you heard that sentiment so much, right? Prove it. What does it do? You know, it can't be all about colorful brochures and everything else. Show me the meat and potatoes of exactly what it is. So you're exactly right. You get some naysayers, and to be honest with you, Clint, there were some of the older, guard, if you will, technicians 30, 40, 50 years in saying, I don't believe none of that. I got to take it off and clean it myself. I got to do this. I got to do it. We got to just put a new one on, that type of thing. But after I started showing them the results, the demos and everything that led up to, and they started seeing that, oh, wow, that's night and day difference from what it was before. There is no denying proof of evidence. There is no denying that, somebody brings you a plate of chicken wings, and 15 minutes later, you have nothing left over but bone. Something has been done there, right? And so that's essentially what I had to do. I had to show them, like a show and tell, if you will, going back to our elementary days. We'd get up in front of the class and show them our favorite whatever. That's essentially what I had to do, and I did so many of them. I think I calculated up some enormous amount, almost close to 200 demos that I'd done in 6 months. I was after it.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Well, there's one thing you have going for you. When you told me about the technology, when we first met and started talking, I gathered a sense I could trust you. In that, for me to part with money to do it, Devin, that had a big thing to do to it, because to me, like I told you, this was flux capacitor from Back to the Future with the professor, right. And I'm going, well, it worked there. Let's see this. But that helps whenever you come across as a genuine person.
Yes, sir.
People can trust you.
Well, the only thing I know is that if it can impact your operations, then I want to be a part of it. If it's not for you, it's okay. I'm down the road, right? So the unique thing is that it is for anyone who operates an internal combustion engine. This service or this product is for you, because there is the ability to keep that lasting for a much longer time, and repair bills to stay by the wayside. We can get into that in a little while, but I've got some great stories to share, and it's just it makes, honestly, in a odd sense, it just makes me well up. It makes me excited and happy, because I know that I'm helping my customers. Like I said, I don't want a customer, I want a partner. I want a friendship. I want something that's going to last. We're all in this to benefit for ourselves, but if we don't benefit for each other, man, we might as well just hold the door open. And
I know that as my business grows and I start adding more and more customers where their commercial auto policies that I write, I can see more of a fleet. I will definitely be looking to bring you in there, because it's a benefit to their business.
Yes, sir.
So you start the business. It's obvious that with your research, you felt like you could make this work. At what point in the business did you go, this is going to work? Not that we always have everything whipped, but right. there tends to be a point where we go from, I know I can do this, to that little twinge of, I know I can do this, to, I'm doing it, and this is going to be successful and build something for my family.
It's funny you say that, because it's always to the end point too, right? You're always thinking, man, you're starting to run out of gas, or you're starting to feel like this, that, and the other, and then all of a sudden you get the phone call. I had gone to a large truck shop on the east side of Houston with the mindset that I was going to profit share with them. I wanted to show them the technology, do a demo for them on one of their customers' trucks that was in for repair, just free, do a free demo. This was before Thanksgiving in 2019. It was a week before. And I had gone and done the demo, and the truck did not go back out to the customer for a couple of weeks, and they called me and asked me, would I come back and do one more on a truck that they know is going back out? And I said, of course. So I went and did the demo, and the following morning, that was in the afternoon, the following morning, the service director called me up and said, Devin, let's do this. Let's do it. Let's make this happen. So what that entailed was me bringing my machine in there, leaving it in their shop, and then upselling it to their customers as they call it a diesel induction service. So that's how they sell it to the customer. They put it on every ticket. They send it out the door, and they tell them, you need this. It's a preventative maintenance item. It's not a repair, but it's just something that they need to have done annually, sometimes biannually, depending upon what type of operation it is. So I watched it, Clint, and it happened, thank goodness, before COVID. That was, I would say, late December, maybe early January when we kicked it off. And I watched them take a hold of what I knew could be done and take it to the next level. And I had a full-blown partnership, continue to still have that same full-blown partnership with them as of today. And so that was the pinpoint notification to me that it's happening. It's done, and you don't have to maybe dip into your savings anymore. We're gonna start paying you, son. You're gonna make some money, and you can be happy and take some relief off.
That's that point that every business owner is happy with. I try to keep that positive attitude, like we've talked about, and realize that if you take a view that every obstacle is tuition, and when I say that, I mean what you learn is more valuable than what you spend.
Correct.
It's to learn from those challenges. It's to continue to be willing to, I wouldn't say make wholesale changes, because if you change too many things at once and it fixes a problem, then you have no idea
the other ones that might arise.
Exactly. What fixed the problem, or are you going to break something else? So I tend to like to be more methodical.
That's right. You need to.
There. As we've talked about the fact that I trusted you, it makes me think of a statement from J.D. Rockefeller. And it's next to doing the right thing, the most important thing is to let people know that you're doing the right thing. And I say that it's not that you're going, I'm doing the right thing. It is like you and I did with doing business. We explained what we were doing, and a lot of people, I think a lot of salesmen don't necessarily get into the weeds.
Right.
Whether it's your insurance coverage for your business or what you were doing to my vehicles, I believe you always need to know. Otherwise, you really don't. You're buying a product. Oh, I see a difference. But I think when you can give people knowledge, it's power to help bring repeat customers in.
You're exactly right. You can get into the weeds, because a lot of times I want somebody to tell me I heard the adage years ago, just tell me what time it is. I don't need to know how to build a watch. I've heard that over and over, but I also know too that with it being in particular, a technology that people don't necessarily know about, I don't know if I'm speaking, you might have a chemical engineering background, and I want to foretell as much as I can my knowledge. I'm not a chemical engineer, but I want you to know that I know what I'm talking about enough to where you say, you know what, I understand what Devin's saying. Other than that, how is it going to relate to my vehicle? And so with my wife, for instance, when I first started telling her about the technology, I thought up a great, way of telling her in a roundabout way. I said, babe, it's kind of like brushing your teeth every day. You go to the dentist once a year. Let's say you go in January, you have your teeth cleaned, right? You go every year, okay? If you start to have a little bit of a toothache or notice anything, they can address it immediately. Maybe it only costs you a couple $100 extra. But if you continue to wait and you bypass that dentist and you go 2 years later because you got a massive toothache, well, they have to do a root canal or whatever. So several $100s later, or even thousands of dollars later, you're addressing the issue that you should have done. You should have maintained it from the beginning. So I kind of, laid that analogy in her lap to let her know exactly what it is that I'm doing, how it affects vehicles from the fleet standpoint or from the everyday driver. And once she understood it like that, she's able to know that I do. It's still funny because she'll say, he does something with engines. And, she doesn't go too much. She knows a little bit enough to get her in trouble. But she has shaken the tree for me a few times, and it's turned out well. So,
I was in a network group with your wife for a while. But I never knew that she was your wife until after we did business, and I walked up to her and introduced myself, and you could see this kind of look on her face, and who is this guy? And I'm going, I handle your husband's commercial business insurance. Oh, okay. Then she realized who I was, but because another agent had referred you to me,
right?
I didn't ever realize the connection of how Brad knew your family, which
right, yes. So he's connected to my neighbor's agency or whatever, and they immediately brought you up, and I said, great, perfect. I said, that's what I need. I need a personal referral, because at the end of the day, once again, it's that trust, that genuine business that you're talking about. If you can go off of that's large. And so I'm like you, right? I heard you mention it a while ago. the whole cold calling aspect. I don't mind doing it because it's part of sales. It's part of owning a business. It's what we have to do. But it sure is nice when, hey, somebody calls you randomly, hey, I got your information from Clint, and he said you do this, that, and the other. How could that affect my vehicle? What are we looking at here? Okay, great. It's always nice to have that because obviously that person trusts you and they want to hear what you had to say about it. And it kind of all rolls together. It's not just going out there and sticking your hand out and saying, hey, I can do this. Hey, I can do that. I like more of an organic approach. At the end of the day, too, you do need to shoot people with a fire hose because you need to spread and grow your business.
Yeah.
And
with the automotive industry, like the insurance industry, we have to show people, find a way to show them they can trust us.
Right.
Because I think that both industries can be painted with a pretty broad brush.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no instant gratification for what I do or what you do because it's an expense.
Right.
And it is, if people are getting their cars fixed or maintaining their cars or paying for insurance, it is not like if you're grabbing a burger and you're spending money, but there's been instant gratification.
Yeah, it goes right to your belly.
So when you have instant gratification in society, it's good. But when you have things, I'll have people all the time tell me, I hate insurance. I'll tell them, you know what? I don't like it either. But guess what? You won't hate it if somebody sues you in your business and you get to keep that business.
That's it.
Or you won't hate it if you don't maintain your vehicle, and the next thing you know, you're replacing that vehicle because you did not maintain the longevity of that vehicle. And at the cost now, oh my goodness, I look at the prices of new trucks now compared to when I bought mine just in 2015.
Out of my reach.
And it's like, I don't have the stomach for that. Trucks now cost more than the first house I purchased.
True story.
And you're going, wow.
Yeah.
So,
and you still have to put fuel in that. It's like everything else, right? It's like, man, you just see it as an expense, whether it's through your business or not. You need to be mindful of how you spend your money, period, in the store, whether you're, just a normal everyday Joe or you're a business or corporation or anything else. There has to be value attached to everything, or there's nothing.
Yeah. So for those that are not technical, explain how the hydrogen system works in simple terms.
In simple terms, in layman's terms, I'll explain it the very best I know. So I have a hydrogen generator. It's about the size of a microwave oven, if you will. These are the machines that I can sell, lease, or profit share throughout the country, all 48 states. I purchased them from a company out of Europe. It produces oxyhydrogen gas up to 23%. And how that works is you plug the machine into voltage, so either a standard 120 plug at home or a garage. For me, when I do these out in the field, I have generators. So I have 2 generators because I do 2 machines at once generally when I'm doing a lot of trucks. I can run 2 machines at once. The technology is such, there's distilled water that is mixed with potassium hydroxide, which are come in little bitty flake packages. That is a special blend that I purchase. I mix into the machine. It has a tank inside of it, roughly less than a gallon tank. When you put electricity to that mixture, it goes through, for lack of a better term, electrodes. And it throws electricity to that mixture. It creates hydrogen gas. Okay, so I don't store it. So when I drive around and I'm in my truck and I have my machines in the back, there is no stored hydrogen in there whatsoever. So I don't have to worry about, and I explain this to you as a policy, if anybody rear ends me, they just tear the machines up and they just they're not going to blow anything up. We're not going to have to worry about this side of Conroe going off or anything. So I create the oxyhydrogen gas. It's then fed from a heater hose, which is a service hose, into the airbox of the vehicle. So like, for instance, when we did your truck, when we met in the parking lot that time, it's been, beginning of the summer maybe, I think.
Yeah.
A while back. Your truck was running at temperature, 160-ish thousand miles. I can't remember how many you had on that.
I think actually 180.
180, and you had expressed that you'd had some things done to the engine, and several $1,000s later, here we go, right? So what I'm doing is I'm putting oxyhydrogen gas through your air box that's going to be fed into your combustion chamber. That oxyhydrogen gas is positive, and the carbon deposits that have been created that are inside of your engine on top of your pistons, the ends of your fuel injectors are called the pintles, where they spray those, the valves on your vehicle. All of those have carbon deposits from naturally occurring instances, because oil, after a while, I don't care how religious you are, for lack of a better term, on your oil changes. If you do it every 3,000 miles, every 5,000 miles, and you keep it right where you need to keep it, deposits happen because you're burning fuel, and it has distillates in it, everything else, it's going to be left over. So with those deposits that are trapped inside of that engine, the only other way used to that we'd get them out is take the engine apart, the top part of the engine apart, and you would do what's called a walnut blasting, where you would take shells of walnuts that have been ground down to nothing, like almost sand, and you would literally send them through high pressure into a machine. They would take the head or take this out, and you spray all those carbon deposits off and put them back on the vehicle. That's not very cheap, you can imagine, right? You're going by labor rates in dealerships or wherever else. So how my service combats that, or how it, lack of a better term, one-ups that, there is no disassembly. I'll loosen the band after the airbox before your throttle body on your GMC, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And I slip the hose in right there, and I turn my machine on while your vehicle is running. That positive oxyhydrogen gas reattaches to the negative carbon deposits that are trapped inside of that engine. And with the combustion process, it turns it back into fuel.
I have to tell you, when I saw what you were doing, I thought, I'm sure glad I've got his insurance, because I am not sure what this is going to do.
Yeah.
But when we go to the benefits, I'll tell everybody, I picked up over an additional mile per gallon.
Right.
So
and it doesn't
went from 17 point something that age had taken my truck down to, now I'm 18 point something. So the way I look at it, the cost of the service, not only was it beneficial to my truck, but it pretty much paid for itself inside of a year at fuel costs.
And it will, right? And so from the standpoint of looking at it from that level, you think to yourself, yeah, it's going to take a year to pay it off. The other benefits are there is no more trapped carbon inside of your engine. Okay, so that carbon robs that fuel. So your computer on your vehicle will tell your truck what it did over the last several years with that buildup is, we need more fuel, man. We're not getting enough. Because that carbon inside of it is just like a charcoal briquette. Every time you spray it with lighter fluid, it's just absorbing it, taking it in. And it doesn't flame like it's supposed to, right? It doesn't combust like it's supposed to. So with all that carbon gone now, and the caveats to the top of that piston can explode like they're supposed to, your truck is running like it's meant to run, like it's engineered to run without all that stuff in the way of it. So, and with that being said, so you look at it from the fuel economy standpoint, you look at it from the cleanliness standpoint, you look at it from the performance standpoint, that you're able to maybe bark the tires where you hadn't before. Also, it's not so much right now as it was a few years ago, but emissions are looked at pretty stringently. The EPA back in the late 2000s, in their infinite wisdom, said, hey, man, we're tired of seeing all this. People are complaining about all this black soot in the air out of the stacks of these trucks or tailpipes. We're going to put an after-treatment system on these trucks and make them, on these Class 8 trucks, we're going to put an after-treatment system, a mega box, after the engine to make sure we capture all that soot so we don't see it out in it. Well, great on paper. But it didn't do very well for the fleets because it caused a bunch of issues. It trapped all that carbon, and you're supposed to burn it off, but it didn't get all burned off. And then you have all these trucks on the side of the road needing assistance, okay? So what I do, and like with your truck, so what this does, it burns all the, back to the technology, the oxyhydrogen gas burns all the carbon deposits back down. It's a 45-minute to an hour service, and you're free to run it for 4 or 5 hours. All you're going to do is burn clean gas when you're burning it. It doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't heat anything up. It doesn't do anything as far as setting codes or anything like that. So for the diesel side, it works great. For the gasoline side, it works great. You have deposits, it works for both. And the exclusionary factor for the, as I mentioned, the after treatment systems on these diesels, a lot of guys, you've probably heard the term delete. We've deleted my truck, so I don't have to worry about this anymore. That's all well and good. Before it was illegal. Now the EPA's rethinking the whole thing, and they're going to come back and say whether they agree that we have to do this or not. That's out of my hands. I can't control what Congress or whoever else does. What I can control is to alert people that even though you delete your system, you still have a turbo on there that's creating an extra RPM for you, okay? That turbo is recirculating exhaust gas. Do you think exhaust gas is clean? It's called exhaust gas for a reason. So it's dirty. So it's dirtying up the hot side of that turbo that's capturing all that. So when I do meet somebody that says they're deleted, I say, let's run the service because you still have a turbo and you still top your engine is still dirty. So what I do is I clean the top of the engine for these garbage trucks, ambulances, construction equipment. And when you alleviate all the issues up top with all that carbon, there is nothing to push to that after treatment system. So it's a preventative way of burning it all down and not letting it be captured and not having back pressure and sensor issues and everything else.
So every entrepreneur has tough moments. Share one of your lowest points with this business in the beginning.
Ooh. It was probably personal. It was probably, once again, to the old adage of, man, did I really go backwards too far this time? Because of the fact that it was such a niche product, or how you want to pronounce it, that was I doing enough justice in explaining it? Was I being, open enough to where people understood the process? Or was I just trying to get through the rigors to say, hey, give me your trucks? I always wanted to be as upfront with every bit of the technologies I understood in sharing data or sharing statistics or sharing pictures or anything before and after. And so I think, right up until the point of how many more, excuse the word, damn demos am I going to have to do before somebody says, oh, yeah, I get it.
So what helped you stay motivated?
Man, my family. Just know I can't lose. I don't mean that in a non-humbling sense. It's everyone can lose, and we all lose.
Well, like we discussed, failure most times comes when you reach points you give up.
Surely. Just knowing, too, that I have I'd like to think, like anyone else that's minded to do things in their life, that they don't have that mechanism of quit. And I have played sports all my life, so I realize that sometimes you just lose. Sometimes you're going to lose.
Resilience isn't avoiding failure.
No.
It's just recovering faster.
That's right. So this week I lost, but hey, what's next week look like? I'm a golfer as well, and man, that sport for 31 years has you talk about humbling, right? So
there's usually one shot that takes us back out.
That's it. That's all you need, right?
I have once in my life had to fish a driver out of a pond. There was an old course over here. I love the course. It's now a subdivision. It was Tree Line.
Yeah,
in Tom.
I remember Tree Line.
And there was a pond there that, for whatever reason, I hit this hole. And that driver had started failing me. Next thing I know, without thinking, I whipped that driver. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I was in my 20s, so I get a little bit of grace here. And then all of a sudden I go, oh, crud, now I got to fish that thing out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a couple $100 back then. That wasn't a good move, right? Yeah, attitude got the best of us. It's happened. I used to play with a buddy of mine back in the late 90s, and he would literally take his clubs and break them over his knees, big old boy. And I would think to myself, no, it was the club or was it you? It was you, because that club was designed to hit the ball. You just didn't do it. So now you took your anger out on it. But so I look at life as everything is, if I didn't get it now, I'm going to get it tomorrow. If I didn't get it tomorrow, I'm going to get it the next day. And if not, it's just stay home and sucker your thumb in the corner and give up. And just like anything else, my wife and I strive to provide for our family, for our kids. She's a hard worker, and I think iron sharpens iron for sure. High tide rises all ships. Seeing her get after it and know that she loves what she does. She doesn't necessarily, per se want to have to do it, but knowing that she is passionate about her line of career or choice or whatever, as the old saying goes, if it's you'll never work a day in your life if it's something you love.
Yeah. Andrew Carnegie said the people who have succeeded are individuals who have chosen to stick the line and hold it.
Right.
And that is something we've talked about throughout this show. So what has been your proudest moment so far in your business?
Wow. I would have to say, without a doubt, it's the phone call you get, and this has happened a handful of times, is that we want to do this as a staple of our maintenance. In other words, you go out and you do a handful of trucks for a company, and you do another handful of trucks for a company, and you suggest to them that this is either a biannual or an annual service, depending upon what operation they're running. And when they reach out and shake your hand and say, "Hey, Devin, we're committed to doing all of our trucks with you for the next, foreseeable future," that to me brings more happiness than anything else. I don't need paper. I don't need a contract. Will you sign here saying that that's the case?
How did the company tell you? You received that phone call. How did it change their business that led to that phone call that they gave?
I love that you asked me that. So one of the waste companies I've had now since August of 2019, last 2 summers ago, I met with and they had already committed long ago that they were going to continue to do these at so many depots around in Texas. But he was the reason why my business happened for them, and our partnership took flight. He and I will meet still to this day for an hour once a month when I go to the Austin Hill Country area, Corpus, wherever I go to do these services. He said, "Hey man, I just want to let you know." He said, we don't, it seems like we talk about everything else, but he said, "I want to let you know." He said, I went back and ran basically a diagnosis of all the issues. He's the fleet director of all the issues that we'd have related to after treatment before you came on with us and then after. He said, we were having anywhere between 5 to 7 a week at each depot that you're doing before you showed up. He said, "Devin," he said, "we've had 2 in the last 4 years." I think it was 2 summers ago. So it's been 6 years. He said, "We've had 2. One of them was just a truck that was aged out, that there was absolutely nothing we couldn't repair it anymore, so your service wasn't going to do anything for it anyways. And the other they pinpointed was electrical. Well, I don't have any position in the electrical diagnostics. I deal with carbon."
You turned that manager into the hero because of what it did with this company, and that solidified that customer.
Yes, sir.
So what myths or misconceptions exist about hydrogen technology, and kind of keep this surface level in because, there have to be, where people are listening to this going, that doesn't work. So dispel some of the myths.
Well, right. One of the myths is exactly what you say. I don't see anything coming out of the hose. Okay. You can hear it. You can't see it. So if I took my generator, turned it on with that hose, and when it cycles up, shows the amps on there, I can literally take a camp lighter and hold the hose and light the end of the hose, and it'll shoot a blue flame out for about 3 or 4 feet, depending upon what setting I have it on. So there is obviously a volatile fuel coming out of the end of a gas, if you will, coming out the end. The other one is, you're going to blow up my truck. It's hydrogen. Somebody hears hydrogen and they think hydrogen bomb. They think it's going to decimate, the whole. I'm going to be giving Clint a call saying, "Hey man, I need to, use the insurance." It's never happened. And I've been a part of thousands of services. The only precaution that you'll need to take, and that's from the servicer's end, is that some of these larger Class 8 trucks have a default timer on them, to where if your butt is not in the seat 5 minutes after you're in there, it's an idle timer, the truck will cut off because they don't want you smoking up the environment, running, whatever else. And that can be default. You can take that out. But some of the garbage trucks or whatever else have it. So when I go to do those, I have to make cognizant awareness that whenever I'm doing the service, that I have to have myself in that seat so it won't go off. Because what could happen is, let's just say that I set this truck up and it's been going on for 15 minutes. Well, I come back to the truck because I was in the bathroom, or I come back from a different truck and the truck's dead. Oh man, I just get in there and I fire it up. Well, that oxyhydrogen has been continuing to be pumped into that air box, and that combustion chamber is ready to go. It's trapped inside of that air box. And so if I fire that truck off, there is the potential of that exploding. Now, to what degree? Couldn't tell you. I've never seen it done. I've seen it done inside of a plastic drink bottle like you've had there. I've seen somebody light that on fire and watch it pop or whatever. But I've never, fortunately, seen one done in action. So
Sounds like that with your customers, you teach first and you sell second.
yes, sir.
And when you do that, then those customers become a partner for you.
Yes, sir.
So, Devin, you're a business owner and you're a family man, wife and 2 kids.
Actually, a wife and 4 kids total, but 3 between she and myself.
So 4 kids. How do you juggle it all?
Man, and I'm not one for patience. I'm a Capricorn. I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but we're generally move or get out of the way type people, just from what I've ever noticed over the years.
Yeah, a lot of times I would just as soon do something.
Yes,
Because with you helping me, you're going to complicate this
that's right.
or ask questions that are in my mind. I have already processed this 30 minutes ago.
Right.
As to this could arise and how am I going to get around it, and I'm forward. And
And
moving my girlfriend this weekend, my future wife,
you wanted to do it all by
she
yourself.
let me know the day after that I got just a little testy at times. And I told her, I said, I didn't realize I did. I said, first of all, at my age, I was hurting. And
Right.
second of all, you were asking questions why I was needing to move forward to get this move done that in my mind was like, I've already resolved that. Why are we talking about it?
Right.
And I told her, I said, generally, I try to be patient when that happens because people don't know what's going on in your head. But I said, with the discomfort, that patience wasn't necessarily there. So you have type A personalities,
Yeah. It's hard to sit back, right? And I'll complicate it just a little bit more, Clint, if you will. We homeschool our children. And I say we. My wife would be the first one to backhand me if she heard that. She does it. She's their teacher. I will step in when I can, when I'm available to help. I feel like I show life skills a little bit differently, maybe hammering a nail or something like that for my boys, or cleaning the pool or anything like that, to where they see an example. And I can show them in my realm of time. It can be difficult. I think that I'm fortunate enough to partner with the right people. I don't want every customer, and I know that sounds, what are you talking about? That's weird. I don't want the customer that doesn't understand the entirety of the process.
not every customer is a good customer.
True.
Some customers, even when you're getting paid, they can cost you money. And we all have to realize that there are times there are just personalities that if they come to you with a bad taste from a previous person, sometimes you want to walk it at that time because they're already not happy.
Right.
Now, there are times it can be taken out on you, and you're going, I'm just not put myself in that position.
You're right. So I just look at it with the family first, glasses on at all times. And then when I do have to go out of town for 2 days or whatever to work, I remember to myself, I'm very fortunate in the regard that I can go do this and then come home and spend 2 days with them or whatever else. Maybe I don't have anything else on the books. And I take life as it comes. I don't want to shove it down anyone's throat so much to where, as we talked about earlier with advertising in our really want to thank you for inviting me on here. This has been huge. I've been extremely excited about it, looking forward to it for so long, and it's going to help in that regard. I want to offer a service and be honest and genuine with people and let them know that I can help impact their global operations or their regional operations. And this is the playbook that has worked. And then we go from there. So,
business runs best when the owner's not running on empty.
True story.
Kind of briefly tell me, how do you recharge?
Oh, man. It used to be chocolate. I used to be a dark chocolate fiend. I would eat it every day. I love learning. So I would say for me, whether it be driving in the truck or listening to a podcast or something, music is a huge outlet for me. Always has been. I stay connected to my childhood friends who have you'll know what I'm talking about. Just always being grounded, always having that semblance of friendship. I talk to them on a daily basis. We text, everybody texts anymore. Nobody rarely picks up the phone unless it's an emergency or, hey, I need to talk to you right now.
And notice I called you earlier.
Yes, sir.
Text me.
Yes, sir, you did. Yeah, and you're good
driving,
about that.
And
yeah,
it's like, we're going to talk, and this isn't something either one of us need in writing. And I have,
sure.
As an insurance agent, I'm going, I don't need to have a rep.
Hands free, baby, hands free.
Exactly.
So yeah, I try and keep the happiness mindset and the fulfillment mindset of life is good, man. Life is good, and it gets better as you intend it. If you sit back and say, well, it's been a tough week last week. You had all the stuff that went on and stuff, and you get a moment of a reflection, and you push past that, and you think to yourself, well, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I love my life. I think it's going great. And does it get better? Hope so. It's pretty damn good right now. So,
sometimes it's hard to have balance. And one of my favorite CEOs is Jack Welch from GE.
Mm-hmm.
And he made a comment once. He goes, there's no such thing as work-life balance. There are work-life choices, and you have to make. Without that, you don't have balance. So, and that goes to the point is, as a businessman or woman, you have to make sure that you're making the right choices for your business, but showing a little balance with your family.
You're right. I look forward to any moment that I get, whether it's sitting down eating lunch or whatever else that takes your mind off of it for 2 or 3 seconds or whatever. It's great. I got advice from my former father-in-law years ago. It was one of the only things that he's passed now, but one of the only things I can remember that came from him that succinctly affected me was, and I'm sure he got it from Confucius or someone like that. It was probably an old Chinese saying or something, but he said, life is like a wheel and it has spokes in it. And if one of the spokes is too long, the wheel's not going to roll right. If it's too short, the wheel's not going to roll right. So balance is very particularly important to how your life is. And as a mid-20s guy, when you hear that, you're thinking to yourself, wow, man, I've got it all whipped. I can do everything all the time. And then as you gradually roll into being a mature adult and a business owner or whatever else, you realize, no, I'm not trying to do it all. I'm trying to do segments of this, segments of that, segments of this. I will tackle an issue when it needs all of my attention, but I'm not going to live in that. I'm going to move on to whatever else and roll on down the road.
The future belongs to those who adapt before they're forced to, like what you did with your business.
Yes, sir.
When you were selling the products and then realized when you come across this technology, this could change the face of business with vehicle maintenance. Where do you see Devin Spruill Enterprises and the hydrogen technology over the next 5 to 10 years?
Wow, that's a pretty deep thought. I would say, depending upon, globally, I would say it's a force, and it's supposedly this technology had been implemented in China in the late 90s and had graduated to Europe in the mid 2000s. Finally made it over here about 10 years ago or so, and I'm glad to be a part of that. But for the U.S., I see it on the industrial side having a lot more favor, if you will, than EVs. There's so many of them out there, but what I can tell you from the standpoint of knowing industry selectives, that EVs just aren't enough for the construction mindset field as far as yellow iron or the fleet mechanism. It's just not enough, and there's not enough energy for all of us for all these trucks to be on the road at the same time. So I don't see my business being affected by the EV experience, if you will. I kind of feel like that'll fade out a little bit more so, but I see the product and the service continuing to reach a stratosphere.
Hydrogen fuel cells somewhat intrigue me.
I would love to see that happen.
Advice is free. Implementation is priceless. What is one piece of advice you would give upcoming entrepreneurs before they start?
Man, do your education. Do your learned days and nights. Go over everything with a fine-tooth comb and realize what your target market might be before you take any kind of leap, whether it's selling lemonade or selling hydrogen. Just understand there are going to be challenges, and it's not all about self-gratification. You need to do what's right all across the board for the partner. But my one thing to take away would be, man, do your research, because it's just there's so many different things that are out there now. Like when I hear people, I might be having a conversation with my wife, she says, oh yeah, they're opening this place, they're opening that place, retail wise. Man, I cinch up kind of hard, because retail's a tough market. It's extremely tough right now, whether it be a restaurant or whether it be a store, or a storefront or anything. Leases are out of control, rents and stuff. And so when you're thinking of a business model, to me, we're a service industry in this country. What do we sell anymore? We sell cars and stuff, or we work on that stuff. We're more of a service industry than we've ever been for the last 2 or 3 decades. So the way I see it is how can I, as an entrepreneur, I'm looking for somebody to figure out a way of combating an issue that's very vitally important. And when I see that, I say, man, you're on to something. You've got something. I watch Shark Tank probably way too much. We used to watch it as a family on Friday nights, and now that football season kicked back up, it's kind of hard. But it's one of those things where you see somebody's product, you see their service, and you think, man, that's great. But like the Sharks will always ask them, why are you going to retail with this? Continue to do what you're doing. You're doing great. And sometimes, like, acknowledging that I'm doing fine. I could be doing better. I want the whole world to use my product or service. At what expense? Once again, we're talking back to balance. What expense? Do I miss my kids getting, scratched up knees, riding their bikes in the street, or do I miss anything else in life? I'm not going to miss that. I'll do what I need to do, and I'll continue to forge on. But as an entrepreneur mind, man, you need to find something that somebody needs, and I would strike on that as hard as I could.
Yeah, I think with the emergence of AI, service is going to be where people are going to want to head towards.
Yeah.
Bringing up Shark Tank, Barbara Corkin, she's the one that says, don't you dare underestimate the power of your own instinct. And for me, for businesses, that gut instinct, don't ignore it. It sends us in the right direction sometimes, but I've also found in life that gut instinct has kept me out of trouble, because it just, for me as a Christian, it's that still small voice that tells me, don't do that, So, Devin, we're going to head into the lightning round.
Yes, sir.
Have a little fun. One myth about hydrogen technology you wish people would stop believing.
That it doesn't work.
Funniest customer reaction when they've seen your tech work.
Oh, man. There's been a few. Probably something I couldn't say. Just expletive. I can't believe this worked. I feel like an idiot.
Mine, when you did it, it was probably a week later, because I started watching my fuel to go, okay, my mind is, I don't mind paying for something that is worth it.
Right.
Example, when I go in and eat in a restaurant, there are some restaurants that the bill comes in at $75, and my mind is fine paying that. And there are other restaurants I come in at $75, and I'm going,
I'm at Chipotle. How did this happen?
what the heck is this? And it didn't worth it.
Yeah.
Fleet owners versus personal car owners. Who's harder to convince?
Fleet owners. Hey, we've got these guys in the shop. They're going to take all this stuff apart and clean it by hand. Hey, we've got these guys. They're going to soak it with this. They're going to soak it with that. Well, why don't you allow those guys to continue to work on hydraulics or on wheels or on brakes, and I'll do the other for you. And this is how it works. And so, yeah, they're a tough nut to crack because they've been around, as I mentioned earlier, the old guard, those guys, they've been around for 30, 40, 50 years. This don't work. It can't work. And they're definitely harder, for sure.
Favorite local spot to unwind after a long day?
Oh, man. The backyard swimming pool. I'm all about floating on my wife's big, whatever it's called, fun boy float. And
until she flips you off and takes
until she comes out. As soon as I hear the door open and I look up and I see it's her, I just kind of roll over and assume the position because I know it's hers. So
this last question is something I'm told I cannot do. It's impossible for me. In one sentence, why Devin Spruill Enterprises? It's the one sentence that I'm told I'm not capable of doing.
Okay. I'll do the very best I can. It may be a compound sentence, but it will be one sentence. Partnering with Devin Spruill Enterprises will allow your operations to move as efficiently as possible with a true dedicated service and or product that will impact you for years to come, period.
Yeah. Devin, thanks so much for coming on with us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Giving an education of your hydrogen technology that cleans an engine. It's been a pleasure having you on. I'm going to give a shout out to Lone Star Community Radio. That is a nonprofit radio station. This show is here because of my producer, Dick. He's amazing handling the show. And I want everybody to please realize that with it being a nonprofit, would love to have you consider donating. And if you're enjoying what you're hearing and you're going to tune into another episode, consider becoming a sponsor, or simply share this program with a friend. Until next time, keep showing up, keep building, and keep it genuine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm.